Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica, and on behalf of everyone here at the Fish and Wildlife Research Institute, I would like to welcome you to MarineQuest School Days. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our session Niche Finder and introduce to you Lauren Gentry. Lauren works here at our St. Petersburg office with our Information Science and Management program. Lauren, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Jessica, and hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here with you guys today. Obviously, I wish that we were all, up at the FWRI Center doing this in person, but if not, over video is pretty cool. So, like Jessica said, I'm Lauren Gentry, and I'm a fisheries biologist. I'm a marine biologist at FWRI, as she said, in the Information Science and Management section. And part of what that means is that we take data from everywhere and we manipulate it. We turn it into maps and into tables, and we figure out what kind of patterns and what information we can get from that data, and then we send it out to everybody who needs it. And part of what that means is we make maps. So what you're going to be doing today is playing a game where you are trying to use a map that we've already made to find something that's very important. But first, you're going to watch a video about different types of maps and all of the different sort of map tools and skills that we have at our disposal.
Hi, I'm Lauren Gentry with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Research Institute, and today I'm at the Suncoast Youth Conservation Center in Apollo Beach to talk to you about what we do in the GIS department. GIS stands for Geographic Information System, and it's a type of science that uses information, like where a river or a tree is located, to create maps and answer questions. Now, there are many types of maps designed to show different types of information, and one type is a nautical chart, like this. Which we make for people when they're out on boats to use. Nautical charts generally show things like where ports and navigation signs are, tides and currents, and also the depth of the water. Another type of map shows us the height of the land using colors and lines, and a tool we can use to explore those maps is this, an augmented reality sandbox. This uses infrared technology above us to measure the height of the sand and project lines and colors onto it. The colors show us how high or how deep the land is. So here's a tall mountain that gets red and then white at the top. And here's a deep river that gets blue in its deepest parts. And these lines tell us how steep the land is. Here's a steep cliff, and you can see the lines are close together. But here's a more sloping, rolling hill, and you can see the lines are wider apart. And we can actually use this tool in real time to explore options, like if construction were to connect this river to this lake up here, or what would happen if you were to build a land bridge and you cut off part of the river.
Go ahead.
I hope you've enjoyed seeing a small part of what we do in the GIS section at FWRI. And if you'd like to see more of the Suncoast Youth Conservation Center, like this horseshoe crab, tell your school you'd like to schedule a field trip out here to Apollo Beach. Now I'm going to send you back to the live stream so you can play a super fun game with a very different type of map.
And this is your game. Welcome back from the video. So today we are going to play a game that we have named Niche Finder, and if you don't know what a niche is, we're just about to do that. But first, we have to learn some vocabulary. So the two vocabulary words that we're going to do today are GIS, which is really a phrase, and the word niche. So GIS is Geographic Information Systems, and that's kind of what we do. That's just sort of the science of what we do in IS&M. And Geographic Information Systems is the science of where things are. It's the science of location. So we can take data like where are roads, where's a river, where are the trees, and we can put it together and we can use that data to answer questions. Your other vocabulary word is niche, and a niche is everything an animal needs in one place to be happy and healthy and thrive. So for most people, For you guys, it's probably going to be your home or your bedroom or your apartment or wherever it is that you live that has your bed and it has food and it has your clothing and everything there. That's your niche. So like in our little diagram here, this yellow bird, he would have the top leaves of the tree would be his niche, and that's where the bugs are that he needs and the sunlight and his nest and everything. That would be his niche. So we've got GIS and we have niche. Now, many niches can be made up of many different layers, right? So first I need to, if you're going to find your niche, and that's, you know, the name of the game, I want you to imagine that you're in the bottom of the ocean. All right, so everybody come with me. We're in the bottom of the ocean now, all right? You are sitting on the bottom of the ocean, but you're an ocean creature, so that's okay. And you look down beneath you, and what you'll see beneath you is the bottom type. Are you sitting on sand or on rocks, or are you on seagrass? Then you're going to feel the water around you. It can be cold, it can be kind of a medium temperature, it can be warm, probably not hot unless you're in very particular places, but we'll say in our ocean area, you can go to one side and it's a little cool and go to the other side and it's a little more warm. Are you in deep water? Are you in shallow water? So one side of our map is going to be deep and one side of our map is going to be shallow. In your niche, you might also be either close to boats. Maybe that's where you want to be, is close to boats because they attract food to the area. Or maybe you're afraid of boats and you're going to be far away from boats. A niche in the ocean can also be near other animals. That can be part of your niche because you eat those animals or you run away from those animals. So you can be near to like little small fish, like little bait fish, like herrings. You can be near to jellyfish, sometimes big jellyfish or small jellyfish. And maybe the niche might also include a big giant grouper like the one up there that we have here in Florida. And when you put all of that together, you have all of these layers, all of these different things that make your home what they are. You put it all together and you have a niche. And so the black lines there just represent the outline of many different possible combinations of what you see below. So now that you are here in the bottom of the ocean, you have to find your niche, but not everybody is the same animal. So since you're all watching this in classrooms right now, I want the teacher to go ahead and you're going to pause this video in just a moment and you're going to divide up the class. Everybody's going to divide up into 4 separate groups, all right? 4 hopefully even groups. And we're going to have a shark group, we're going to have a turtle group, we're going to have a manatee group, and we're going to have a red snapper group, all right? So go ahead and pause me now and put everybody into those 4 groups. All right, are you done? Have you done it? Is everybody in their groups? Excellent. All right, so shark group, we got a turtle group, we got a manatee group, we got a snapper group, yes? All right. All right, now that you all have your groups and you're all sitting together so that you can work together, all right, we're going to find out how to play the game. So here you are in our map. So this isn't really exactly like one of the maps that we would make in information science and management at work. But for today, it is absolutely a map that we made. And on the right there, you can see all of your different layers. You can see the bottom type, the temperature, the depth, boating, other animals, and then the niche. And if you look at the map, you can see where all of those things are reflected. So the yellow background, that's sand. The purple background, that's rocks. And the blue background, that's seagrass. You can see a bottom bar there on the bottom that shows you the area of the map that's cool or medium or warm. And then you look at the top bar that shows you where the water is deep or the water is shallow. I see little fish and a big grouper and then a jellyfish. And then we've got boats. We've got a big boat up at the top there. And then we also have a sign, which is a no boating sign down in the bottom. So that area is going to be away from boats. So everybody oriented in the map now? Even if you get confused, that little diagram over on the side will be there all along to help you read our map. Now, first, we're going to practice this. We're going to do a practice with a group that we don't have. So that practice is going to be a dolphin. So let's imagine that all of us are dolphins right now. And that box up in the top shows you the requirements. You need to be over rocks. You need to be in warm water, shallow water, away from boats, and hopefully near the big grouper. So which one of these would fit? Well, bottom type rocks, we said the rocks are purple, all right? So we've got all of our niches outlined there, and some of them are numbered too. So we've got, well, that kind of, that excludes niche 4, niche 3, and niche 6. None of those are over rocks, right? We want warm water, so we know it's going to be on the far right, so that kind of narrows it down. We know we want shallow water, so we're on the far right. Away from boats, so maybe 1 is a little bit too close to the boats, don't you think? And then we want to be near the grouper. And so maybe niche 1 might fit, but there's still some sand and some seagrass in niche 1. So I would say niche 2 is where the dolphins belong. So the way this is going to work is that I'm pulling up a timer right now. All right, and I want you guys to do it too there in the classroom. And the way this works is that we're going to go to the next slide and we're going to see what group it is. And then we start the timer. And whenever that group agrees on which niche you think you belong to, you're going to shout it out to the teacher and she's going to stop her timer at least, okay? And she or he. And then at the end, we'll see which group was able to find their niche the fastest. Now, other groups, even though you're not participating every time, you can either try to help a group or maybe you can mislead them. Maybe you can tell them where they shouldn't be going. All right, is everybody ready? All right, manatee group, you are up right now. So let's look at your requirements really quickly first. You need seagrass, warm water, shallow, and away from boats. So I'm going to go ahead and start a timer. Ready, steady, go. All right, so we said seagrass. So seagrass, that part's, that's green. So warm water. So what is that going to be? The right side? Maybe that's the left side. All right, we said shallow water. And we know that manatees don't like boats, right? Manatees are always wanting to stay away from boats. So have you guys figured out where you should be maybe? Because 30 seconds is up and that's as long as you get. All right. So the answer was niche 6. So 6 is where you are supposed to be. We've got warm water over there on the right-hand side. It's in shallow water. It's away from the boats, really far away from the boats because you're right by the no boating sign. And you're over seagrass, and seagrass is primarily what manatees eat, so they're happy with that. All right, manatee group, how did you do? You got the timer? All right, excellent. All right, next group then is gonna be our sharks. All right, shark group, you're up. You got bottom type sand, you've got cool water, deep water, near boats, and near small fish. So I'm going to reset my timer. Ready, steady, go. All right, so we said bottom type was sand, didn't we? So what color is the sand again, guy? Yeah, that's yellow. All right, cool water. The sharks like a little bit cooler water generally, at least this shark does. You guys do. You're sharks right now. You like cooler water. All right, you want to be in the deeper water. I mean, you're a pretty big shark. You need deep water, and that's where all the food is, at least. All right, near boats because they're attracting fish, and you love fish. In fact, you want to be near those small fish. And stop. 30 seconds in. Have you found your niche yet? I hope you actually already found your niche earlier if you want to beat the manatee group, right? And the answer is niche 3. That is deep water, near boats, near small fish, cool and sandy. That's generally where you would find a shark. At least it's where we would find you guys. All right, next group, are you ready? You ready to go? All right, everybody simmer down. Ready for this? All right, it's red snapper time. So our red snappers, you're a pretty big fish, red snapper group. You want rocks, medium, shallow, near boats, and away from grouper, because grouper is probably the only thing big enough to eat you, right? So ready, steady, go. Start. All right, what did we say? We said bottom type rocks. What color is that on the map? Okay, that one's purple. That's right. Medium depth. So not very shallow, but also not super deep, although red snapper can live very deep. We said, or medium temperature, I guess. So not very warm, not very cold. Oh, shallow depth though, shallow depth. And then near the boats, probably the boats are following you, but away from that grouper and stop. All right, did you find your niche? Because the answer is niche number 1. That is rocks, medium temperature, shallow water, near to boats, but away from the grouper. Did everybody get it right? Did your group agree on a number and tell your teacher? All right, excellent. Now next, last but not least, I think we all know who's up at this point. We've got our sea turtles. So seagrass, medium, deep, definitely away from boats. Turtles do not want to get hit by boats, right? And near jellyfish, because jellyfish are what you eat, and you're pretty hungry right now. Ready, steady, go. All right, so we said seagrass. Seagrass is green. That much we know already. Temperature medium. You're a little bit picky, aren't you? You're not warm water, not cold water. Is everybody working together? Are you working together in your group to figure out where the sharks and the manatees aren't trying to distract you or anything? Are you telling your teacher what number niche are you gonna end up in? Away from boats. Let's see, one tasty jellyfish. There's some things near the tasty jellyfish. All right, stop. Do you find it? All right, so you should be in niche number 3. Niche number 3 is the only one that has all of those different things that you need. And that's a pretty small niche there, right? So who won? Who won? All right, your teacher is going to have to crown a winner. Whichever group found their niche the fastest are the winners. You are the animal who has found your niche, and you are going to thrive the best of any other group. Congratulations, you win. So great job, everybody. But first, I want to ask you, but before we wrap this up, I want to ask you some questions. So you know how you see these signs out and about everywhere, these no fishing, manatee, slow speed, or sea turtle crossing. Now, do you think that we just kind of put those signs out willy-nilly just because we just don't like boaters, so we don't want a boating, we put up a no boating sign there? Now, what would happen? Let's imagine that you're a sea turtle back in niche number 3, right? And somebody comes and they anchors their boat in your niche, and they drag the anchor through the sand, and maybe the boat actually bottoms out on the sand, and they rip up all of your seagrass, and now you don't have any seagrass anymore. Is that your niche? Because you eat that seagrass. I mean, you eat jellyfish too, but you primarily eat seagrass. So now you have to leave. You got to leave, and that can be dangerous. In our map, there's nowhere else to go. You had to go to cold water, so now you're a cold turtle. Maybe you have to go closer to the boats. Dangerous. So what if you guys are out in a boat one day and you're tootling along in your boat and you see one of these no boating signs, or you see a no wake sign, and you're like, you know what, scientists just put that there because they don't like us, whatever. And you just go on through. Might you hit a manatee? So that sign is not there just because we want to keep boats out for no reason. We put that sign there because we know that that spot is a manatee's niche. So when we know that a protected species or an important species has a niche somewhere, then we certainly want to protect that. So that's how we decide where those signs go. And that's why it's always important to pay attention to signs like that. Now, even though only one group has won, which group was it again that won with your classroom? Was it the turtles? No, manatee? Okay. Well, whoever has won doesn't matter, because everybody can help and become a scientist every day from your phone. So let's say that you decide that you want to help me make my maps of where something is. Now, you can't go scuba diving and tell me where you found a manatee or something, but what you can tell me is where you have found non-native species. So non-native is a species that has been moved somewhere that it didn't originally come from there. And in Florida, we have a lot of these species that people have brought here that haven't always been here, and we track them. It doesn't mean that they're a bad species or anything. We just want to know where they are, just so we can figure out what's their niche, and then we can know whether that overlaps with the niche of another animal, or if they're starting to become like a problem. And the best way to do that is through this app that we have called the FWC I've Got One app. So it's kind of the idea is you find a non-native species and you go, aha, I've got one. So that's our app. We also have an online report and a phone number that you can like call in or do this online report, but we especially love the app. And you can just search for FWC or search for I've Got One in like the App Store, and you can find it there. And the idea is if you come across an animal that you know doesn't belong here, isn't a native here. So have you guys seen like those green parrots that you'll find like in palm trees and stuff around here? You see them flying over. That's a monk parakeet many times, and they're not from here originally. We also have these things called Cuban tree frogs. So we have our own Florida little tree frogs, little green tree frogs, super cute. But we also have Cuban tree frogs. They're not from here originally, and not a whole lot of things here eat them. Let's say you're out on the boat one day, find a lionfish. That certainly is not from here, and they're a big problem because they eat a lot of our native fish. You could even maybe find something in your backyard. If you've ever seen this thing called the air potato vine, it is everywhere here in Florida now. And that's a problem because it'll grow on top of our trees, and then it shades out the tree, and the tree can't get any sunlight anymore. So you might be able to find that one even in your own backyard, along with something called the Brazilian pepper tree. Very, very pretty tree with these very, very pretty berries, but it doesn't belong here necessarily. So let's say that weeks from now, you've downloaded this FWC I've Got One app, and you're sitting out on the porch looking out through your neighborhood as it storms and rains, and you look down and you see this frog, this toad, and you say, hello, toad, and you name him Henry, all right, because you're friendly to the toads. But then you say, Henry, I don't think you're a native species. You kind of look like some other species, so someone that maybe doesn't belong here. So you're going to open up your I've Got One app. You're going to click on animals, because toads are an animal, right? You're going to click on animals, and that brings up a list of different groups of animals that we are tracking that are non-native. So you're going to click on amphibians, because that's what frogs and toads and salamanders all are, right? And you're going to say, oh, look, there's something here called a cane toad. And if you click on that little blue eye, then that'll give you pictures and information about what a cane toad is. So you look at the picture of the cane toad on your phone, you look at Henry, you look back and forth, and you go, Henry, you're a cane toad, by the way. So you're going to go back to the list of animals, and you're going to click on the little white arrow, and that'll take you to a spot where you can report Henry. You can snap a picture of him, and we always want a picture, right? So we can confirm that he's actually a cane toad. Your GPS location is already recorded for you in your phone, and you can also put in some notes at the bottom and say, I found him on my porch, it was raining outside, and I named him Henry. He's very friendly and likes long walks on the beach, whatever you want to put about it. You can also record, if this is something that you spent some time looking for, you can record how long it took you to find that animal. But this kind of information helps us track not just Henry, but cane toads in general. And we can know what's their niche and where are they going, and are they starting to overlap the niche of another animal or something like that. So that is my presentation. So now Jessica is going to help me answer y'all's questions, or some questions that we've gotten in the past about what I do and how GIS and maps work in general.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren. So yes, we do have a couple of questions for you. Our first question is, what area do you create maps for? Is it just for the Gulf of Mexico, or are there other areas?
Well, absolutely. As you know, Florida has two bodies of water. We're actually a peninsula, right? So our office, we make maps for the Gulf of Mexico and the Florida Keys, and even the East Coast too, on the Atlantic side. I specifically make maps for the East Coast. So all of my data coming in is about fish and sharks and dolphins and whales and crabs and everything else on the East Coast. But then other people in my office, they specify in the Gulf of Mexico. And then a lot of people also work in the Florida Keys too, tracking all of our corals and special animals that only live there and nowhere else.
Perfect, thank you. Our next question is, how do you find out where the animals are to make the maps? Like, can you put a GPS collar on them like they do for wolves?
Absolutely, that is precisely what we do. It's not a collar. Well, I guess if we were tracking like seals and sea lions, it is in fact a collar. But for the animals like we had today, those GPS trackers are generally mounted on the back. So it's kind of like an earring that they get or a piercing that they get through their fin on the back. We can actually legitimately put a GPS tracker on them and see everywhere that they go. And we can use data from that to see that they were speeding up really quickly and then stopping. So it's probably hunting. So we can say in the niche, oh, that area is their hunting ground. Whereas if they're not moving for a while, we say, okay, well, that's their sleeping ground then. And it's not just big animals that we can track either. So for things that we can't put on a GPS tracker or just don't want to, by the way, they're very, very expensive. We can also just ask fishermen, where do you catch this? If they always catch red snapper over rocks near boats and near big grouper territories, then we can say, okay, well, that's probably the niche for red snapper because they're fishing for them elsewhere, but they're not catching them. And then we'll also go out and we put out nets and we catch smaller fish and little crabs and even worms and things like that. There's lots of different ways to do these surveys and figure out where these animals are. And then we figure out all of the different environmental factors like the temperature and the depth. And we can put that together and say that this animal has a niche, and this is specifically what it is. And a newer technology that's starting to become more and more popular is actually putting out cameras too, or video, and we'll have thousands upon thousands of hours of video. And now we're starting to train artificial intelligence to look at that video for us and tell us what animals came across the video and at what time of day and everything. So lots of different ways of finding the animals and finding the environment and making our maps.
That is so neat. Okay, and our final question is, does the stuff on the bottom, like rocks and sand, always stay the same? Or do you make new maps if something like a hurricane washes away the beach?
That's absolutely what we do. Part of our job is to decide how often maps need to be updated. Some of the maps that we make are for more permanent things like where a fishing pier is, and that doesn't change very often, but you're right, rocks and sand and what the bottom type is can change pretty often. Like in the example we said, well, maybe you've got a seagrass bed here, but a big ship or a big boat or even just a couple of people with boats, they come in and they tear up the seagrass with their propellers. Well, we need to go back out and we can, use satellite imagery or just people on the ground, and we look at it and we say, okay, we need to update our maps. There's no seagrass here anymore. After hurricanes, the shape of a beach will change. Even sometimes after just big storms or after a construction project, it creates a whole bunch of new silt and kicks up the sand, and then that sand can cover the rocks, and now that's no longer a rocky bottom. Now that's a sandy bottom. So yeah, and those kind of updates are very important because if you're using an older map and you're trying to track a certain animal, you can put a lot of time and effort into going to a certain place and then go, oh, we haven't had seagrass here in 10 years. There's no sea turtles here. So it's very important that we keep those maps updated.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Lauren, and thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me virtually in your classrooms there, wherever you are. And don't forget to go download our app so you can help us make these maps. Even if you are not the specific animal group that won today, congratulations to whomever did win, by the way. But even if you're not and you want to be a map maker or at least be a data point for us to make these maps, I think we're going to put the URL up on the screen for you and just the name of the app. You can just search it in the App Store. You know how that works. And you can download that and be a scientist for however much you want to be. So thank you so much for having me, guys. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.